Man, thanks everybody, Jazz Cabbage Cafe, for joining us on this panel. Adam hasn't been around for a while, but I really appreciate that I was able to cut him off again with the 30-second thing. That's something I've missed. So,
and the computer does it automatically, so it's like a double thing.
You got me good.
Right in the middle.
That was awesome.
So of course, Rick's
curious about the picture now, though.
Say that again, Trish. I'm sorry.
I said I'm curious about the picture he's speaking about now. He's like, I saw a picture, and then
let's get to that in a second. Plus, we'll get an update on a health check from Adam too. He hasn't been able to be around for a little bit. He's been dealing with some stuff, so we'll do that. But let's get to the and also let's want to mention that Ida Pearl-Lee here, Deputy Director of MiCIA, and Trish did actually join us on time today, or even join us for that matter. That's perfect. We appreciate that every time. Rick, do you want to read these off? Or you want me to? There's still no.
I'll get it. Go for it. Come on. I got you. All right. Jazz Cabbage Cafe is sponsored by Stone Depot, Redemption Cannabis, Kalkaska's Real Leaf Solutions, the Detroit Nutrient Company, GrowGreenMI.com, Custom 420 promos with ThatCultureClothing.com.
Right on. Maybe we don't need music. That was kind of smooth.
Music, I like that smooth. Actually.
I'm always smooth.
So, and I will say that Adam's a little bit more awake on this show. Last night he was Medical Mondays. He was not awake most of the show.
Happy Tuesday, Red Setter.
Red Setter and Spartan here. Grow show and their other shows, Polarity Science and so forth. All great stuff.
So tell us how you knew that Adam was a little tired last night on Medical Mondays. Describe.
He actually fell asleep. Well,
I fell asleep a couple times.
Hanging out in front of the camera.
Yeah.
On our show. Yep.
At
We
9
did
o'clock.
that one time here too for like 20 minutes on our show last year, I think. But you know what, man? You're been through a lot of shit, and you're taking meds, and you're trying to deal with stuff that zaps energy, and major back surgery and other stuff. So, I mean, what is going on? What is the latest with your recovery?
Well, I'm in recovery. I never thought I'd ever say that. I refuse rehab because that just sounds that goes against everything I stand for. So I'm in.
Might mistake it for you quitting pot or something like that.
Right.
I have to think that, right.
Right. So I'm in recovery. Basically, it's about healing up at this point. My whole spine has been fused together. So it's just about getting the muscles to work again. I still got to walk with a walker, otherwise I'll take a header. We don't need that. But other than that, it's just about moving. Just got to keep moving.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
That's what she said. I listen well.
So, hey, I'm glad that you're going through this, man, and taking on the challenge and doing what you need to do. You're still a young man.
Yeah, I got some time.
Younger than Rick.
Yeah, that's always a good feeling to know.
Jamie likes to throw that one out there as often as he can. I know. Old man, he calls me. That's cool. I'm good.
Just
so Adam,
chronological facts. There's no,
Now that we've got the health update, what was the picture that you had seen?
All right.
Latrish needs to know.
So
Yes, sir.
I always talk about how weed brings people together who would never have anything to do with each other. It brings people together who hate each other. I've seen the tattoo of on the wrist of a white supremacist hand a joint to a black man. I mean, that's what weed does. It brings people together. And the other day, I saw a picture of Johnny Curry and Richard Wershey, better known as White Boy Rick, standing side by side at a weed event. Now, I'm not telling their stories. That's for them to tell. I wouldn't recommend any of the biopics that have come out. They're all crap. Google doesn't do you so bad. Wikipedia doesn't do you too bad. And I would learn about who those guys are if you care. But the fact that they were standing next to each other, Rick, you're muted. The fact that they were standing next to each other, for imposing for a photograph, tells me that I knew I was right. I knew I would see the most bizarre thing ever. And that's one of them. Because they hated each other.
Say the two names again so the people who want to do that research can do it properly, Adam.
Johnny Curry, he was one of the Curry brothers. And white boy Richard Wershey, he was eventually turned by the FBI into a snitch and did some time for that. His involvement in the cocaine trade back in the 80s. But these people and who they were and how they were connected and what they know and how they know the game, and that's what's important, is the fact that these people know the game. They know how it's played. They know what we're learning, what the industry is seeing, what the cannabis industry that thought that they could just open shops anywhere in Detroit eventually figured out that now we're fighting for our lives for 75 permits. So
White Boy Rick, one of them, of course, he had that deal with Pleasantries for the 1/8 ounce.
Yeah,
branding.
I'm sure he still does. Yeah.
Is that still going on? Okay, because I haven't seen much about it lately.
I see them doing advertisements. His logos like the handcuffs.
Okay. Yeah, in the shape of an 8.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I think that's still viable.
And his story is pretty intense, and he has a suit now against the government.
Oh, yeah.
for that whole experience for a lot of money. So I do hope that he wins that, because if everything that we hear about, and I'm not surprised at all by any of it, it's not like any of it's totally shocking, turns out to be true. He was really used and then just sent away, you know.
He was used and he was sent away until everybody that he could testify against was dead. Okay? That's something that's very important to know.
I didn't know that was part of the story.
Well, figure out who's involved, and you'll see.
I don't know it well enough to even to do that. I remember when I was young hearing about him. You know, the news stories about it and stuff like that.
Right.
But
and they buried him in the prison system and would actively fight to keep him there.
Yeah, my one meeting with him was not pleasant. There was some tension, unfortunately. Although I did appreciate meeting him and stuff, and I do support him as a person, and I don't appreciate what he had to go through, and I hope he wins his lawsuit.
He may understand. He may understand it a little better now than he did. What about when you talk to him, Jamie?
Sure, that's possible. Yeah,
he may have a better idea about Pleasantries and
not just that, but the industry in general. He was new to it, and he's a celebrity in it. He's not a piece of the industry other than being a celebrity. So
it sometimes disturbs me when I see people who are either recently famous or felons who've been recently released who, quickly make these deals with some of these cannabis companies, because, I mean, at that point, you're not business savvy enough to know what a great deal is and what a less than great deal is. And although I don't know the details, perhaps he had a wonderful business attorney and he got a fantastic arrangement. Kind of skeptical that happened. I feel like a lot of times these people are taken advantage of. Now, if we're talking about a Snoop Dogg or a Seth Rogen or some of those people, that's certainly not the case there. They have plenty of money for good representation, and they walk into those cannabis deals on an even footing, if not at an advantage. It's those people recently released that I feel sometimes are more vulnerable, and they need money because the state's not providing them any compensation. They're There's no support system out there for them.
You know, which reminds me, it would be good to have Naja Nava come back on for have a conversation with us. Her organization likes to focus on that very thing, and we haven't been doing the MCFC meetings because it's been summer. People have had different schedules and stuff like that, so it'd be nice to kind of hear what's going on, and see how people could help that out.
I think these are all little deals too, by the way.
I think so too.
But
to a recently released felon, though, Adam, a little deal looks like a big thing, right?
Oh no! These might be life changing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying these may be 6 and 7 figure deals.
Yeah.
But those are small compared to what they should be.
Yeah.
I had this conversation at lunch yesterday that I would love to open like a gangster weed shop where if you were one of these former gangster type, or you're some bad boy weed celebrity and you have your own brand, we carry your shit. Otherwise, we don't carry this.
The focus is on all those things, yeah.
Yeah, we focus on celebrity weed. Are you a celebrity?
But with a certain story that fits the philosophy and stuff like that, right? That's cool.
I thought that'd be kind of a funny little gimmick, you know?
It might make sense under certain circumstances, depending on how those products are branded and what their approach is. I mean, Redemption, for example, would be a perfect fit for that.
Right. You know, I talk to a lot of younger people too that really do want to support some of the OGs in the industry. They just simply don't know who they are or what they look like. So they would come to a place like that to support the people that you're talking about, Adam.
And I see this show that Belushi's doing, and I see that the producers figured out that they have to actually have him doing it because no other show was the celebrity doing the work. So whether he's doing the work or not, because he does travel, so he's got to have other people working for him. They made sure to show that, which blew up his show.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about events, coming up here. Rick Anstiss is with us, and he's does the big cloud production, and also works with other, even licensed events and stuff like that. And Blues Brothers with Jim Belushi are coming into town this weekend, and we'll get more detail about that. But since you mentioned it, I just thought I'd throw that in there. And
I Rick forgot also, when it was so close. I would have kept my mouth shut.
That's all right. And Rick also had a really good interview with Dana Nessel on his new podcast, and there was some information based on some of the stuff we touched last week with the shakeup at the CRA and stuff like that. So in a little bit, we'll see what's going on with that and what we might be able to discern from that information. And I have that video queued up. It's like 2.5 minutes, so it should be okay. And I also wanted to, before we get too farther, it was just Latrisha's birthday, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks for, and
I'm feeling different.
Oh, good.
Yeah, at this age, it's not really much of a change.
Yeah, you actually look a little younger, if anything.
I tried.
So I just also wanted to say thank you for your participation in working with Amie. I mean, a lot of stuff that you do, of course, but that to work with Amie on that campaign and see it through the primary was good work, and I think it was important. And the way that you went about it and making new relationships with the other candidates, and, staying involved was just a really good move, and it's appreciated.
Yeah, it's going to be beneficial for the future too, because now we have relationships with people who are going to be in the seats that are necessary for us to be able to have the right conversations with. So it's kind of like starting a whole new game board. Just gotta know who your players are and what they're about, and be able to communicate with the right people, get things done.
After summer break too, especially in an election year, it's a completely different legislature. They act either with a sense of complete detachment or with a sense of crazy urgency based on whether or not the issue they think is going to turn voters towards their cause in the November election. So this last little bit, which will be from mid-September to November. I think elections are November 8th this year, actually.
Correct.
To see that time from mid-September to that November 8th, it's going to be crazy in the legislature. You know, there's one thing that's bugging me. I have to address this. Okay, Ida, that is the biggest bong I have ever seen in my life. That chamber. Oh my God!
Why does that bug you?
Fantastic.
I was about to say the same thing, Rick.
Salame must be involved in that because I know how big a stoner is. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, way to show off. Yes, my little
Right
joint has
there.
nothing to do with it. Okay, I'm sorry, Jamie. Public service announcement over. Please return to our regularly scheduled program.
Fine piece. It should be presented and should be pointed out. It shouldn't bug you though.
But it did.
Okay. I'm just saying, you know, the way things are and the way things should be. So I would like to see you take a hit out of that before the end of the show, of course.
Yeah, please,
Properly
that'd be great.
demonstrate.
Okay, it's really not a bong. You know that. If it was, I can
hold
look at
it over
a
here.
It can be converted into one, though, if you.
It can be.
It's a potential bong.
Yes,
That's what the Oakland County Sheriff's Department would say about it. Yes, that's right. That would end up in the back of a squad car headed towards an impound yard if you were in a raid. That's right.
Yeah,
Right.
it would be gone.
Jim Salame has jumped on. How you doing?
Good, man.
Hey, Jim.
Glad to be here.
Hello.
And so we want to talk a little bit too about the MiCIA conference. Industry Association has a yearly, well, it does a kind of a seasonal, you know, networking kind of an event, but of course the summer one is the premier one. Yeah, and went, you know, there's weird times going on right now in the marketplace, but it was still very heavily attended. A lot of great stuff going on, a lot of networking that took place. And Jim was there. Jim performed.
He did.
Good night.
He did some crooning.
It was a great group. It was well done. I mean, it was just organized.
And Lewis, I'm so impressed. You're the whole band and your vocals and all that kind of stuff was so pro. You know, it was really impressive.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, but more
we always
impressive.
enjoy having them.
And that's a wonderful thing, but let's set the stage. We're at the top of a hill surrounded by vineyards overlooking miles and miles of valley to see the lake below and the hills on the other side. So picturesque. Everyone's dressed up in business casual. The music's great. Food's wonderful. The weather was perfect. So it really was just so chill. And then to have Jim, you know, throwing out those Dino songs and the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald and my favorite strains, which he performed both nights.
So to the tune of, these are a few of my favorite things. These are a few of my favorite strains. It's a list of strain names and the whole thing. It's awesome.
So awesome.
Parody on the old John Coltrane song.
It was fun.
My favorite things. Thank you. Yeah. And it was great. And again, thank you, MiCIA. Ida and her team, you know, made that possible. And they have the best location for any event, I think, in Michigan, at that, on top of that hill in Shanty Creek.
We were actually really lucky to get that spot. So when COVID hit in 2020, we were actually at Shanty Creek, and 2 weeks before the conference, they canceled the event. And we were scrambling. So that wine vineyard is actually Robin's cousins that own it. And we were able to transition getting the tent over there because everything had to be outside. It was COVID. And in 2 weeks, we were able to pull off 200 people that came up that year. Yeah.
And it's much larger now. What was your attendance this year, Ida?
We had 300 this year. Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. You couldn't ask for a more picturesque and romantic and just beautiful scenery.
So there's a golf kind of a tournament, the Chronic Cup that goes on. And then Q has regularly been doing her
high tea party.
Her high tea party, which is I chose to attend, kind of sitting around, smoking pot, drinking tea, eating some good food. I thought was a better choice.
So what is your take on it? Because when guys come up to me and they, the first time they experience it, they're just so excited and they're so animated and they're just like, oh my gosh, this was so cool. And I got to drink, tea and smoke a joint and pinkies up. And it's just, it's really kind of like funny to watch guys like respond to this. And but it is, it's a high class event and it's something that's not really experienced every day.
It's really cool. And it's a great way to demonstrate how like the essence of all these foods have a relationship you know, and she talks about pairing, and it didn't happen at this one, but I know at other ones she uses the forum to help educate people on health and wellness uses and things like that too.
Right.
I've done
I like it a lot.
I've been to 4 of her ITs, including one recently in Detroit with Kathleen Graham, who's the registered nurse who comes and talks primarily about some of the uses of cannabis in the different ways. And Kathleen was not at the MiCIA event, so you can imagine that probably is one of the reasons why it was less focused on education. But you know, having been there 4 times, it's always fun. It's always a good time.
I'm fine with smoking, drinking the tea, and the really cool foods, colorful, you know, very essence-full, you know, foods.
Just feed us, guys are happy.
Yeah.
And at the end, of course, there's a butterfly release, right, with 4 boxes of the newly named endangered species, the monarch butterfly.
The monarchs, yes. Yeah.
So who were the 4 women that were there releasing butterflies, Ida?
That was Q, Robin, Zaria, and myself.
Yep. So opening the box and the butterflies sometimes fly out and sometimes they don't. You have to shake the box a little bit.
You know, Zaria,
they have to actually wake up. So they're frozen and they're thawing is what they're doing.
So I just want to, since you brought up Zaria, I want to just give a little recognition to her. She works hard on all these events, does a lot of the, you know, other work for the organization with, you know, media and the computer, the sites and, you know, whatever, all the things that, you know, regularly need maintained and updated and that kind of stuff. And is there really, you know, facilitating a lot of that stuff. So I don't, you know, she kind of goes unnoticed, and we talk about these great events and how well they went off. Just an opportunity to mention that's Robin's sister, and, you know, somebody who plays a vital role too.
I saw her bust her ass all 3 days of the MiCIA event, including at Torch Lake.
And Trisha's internet connection got screwed up, but she will be back. So.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say she's our graphic designer and she does work really hard. And
I don't know everything, but very important
stuff
though. I know that, you know, part of the whole engine there.
Right. Yeah. Well, we do. We have a really good, you know, close knit team, and we work really well together.
Yeah. And you are the deputy director. I'm not sure if we actually said that, but that's your title.
Yeah. I'm the deputy director.
And Ida, you also do a podcast itself or a broadcast each week, right?
I do, called Light a Joint with Ida on Mondays at 11. I took this week off.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I went to go look for it, of course, as I do every week.
Yeah, so I actually went to get on and do a live video yesterday, and I was curling my hair, getting ready to take my son to register for his senior year, and it was like 11:15, and I was like, oh, shoot. So,
my bad. Your priorities were. That doesn't happen all the time, you know.
Right. I do have to be a mom.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that the MiCIA event has a golf outing. I know another golf outing that Rick Anstiss does each year too, that he's been very successful with as well. Rick, right?
Yeah. This is the third year for Hazy Hole's Cannabis Classic, and it's at Indian Lake Hills in Eau Claire, Michigan. And I was blessed with, as this started, you know, it's a great idea, the golf thing, right? It's networking, it's marketing, it's fun, it's laid back, but can be serious. Not everybody was onto it at first, you know. A lot of these golf courses, they black ties, you know, businessmen weren't feeling that vibe, but all of a sudden that's changed. And, you know, I was blessed with this place to open that door for me, and had great success with it. I've had a lot of celebrity involvement and interest in it, and this year some political interest with some state representatives that'll be playing. Brad Piquet and Steve Cara will be playing, and so that's exciting. Yep. So, and it, you know, again, I think these events, I think there's a few golf events around the state, and I think they're really important. It's an important way to network business, and it's done not at the table, but yet, you know, business still being done.
Yeah, so I remember last year that did really well too, so it started to take off, you know.
240 golfers.
Yeah, that's a
right,
lot.
because you're out there, you get to smoke cannabis while you're out there. I mean, it's such an incredible. You're out in nature. That's one of the big draws for me when I go play is just having that ability to smoke and
Did you play at the MiCIA thing?
I did not this year because I was singing, so I wanted.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So there were also lawmakers at MiCIA event. I'm not sure if they participated in golfing, but
No, they
like
came
to
for the
see-
tea party.
Okay, so Representative Coleman's there. He's very, very cool dude. He'll be back next session.
Yeah.
Actually talked to him a little bit about picking up some of the stuff that Rep Robbie was working on that I've been working on with Rep Robbie with other groups and organizations too for a long time. And he seems to want to pick up that torch. So have a couple of other lawmakers too. I'm kind of looking forward to, seeing how next session can unfold. Now there's a few people in groups working on stuff.
Hi, Krista.
Hi, Krista.
Yep. Hi, Krista.
I found myself at 1:00 in the morning out in the parking lot with Representative Yusuf Rabi and Senator Jeff.
And I was going to say,
Irwin,
and Senator Irwin was there too.
and a gaggle of other people too. You had a representative from the Michigan Cannabis Industry. I'm sorry, from the Cannabis Regulatory Agency there.
Oh, Sova, Chris Sova. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that was very interesting. He sort of subbed out for the role that normally Director Brisboe would do, but Director Brisboe's not only on vacation but also.
I know.
We might have some more insight into that. We'll talk about that with Rick here in a minute. See what,
twice, I guess. Yes. But
just a
he
little.
would have been there had there not been any change in the CRA. He would have been there most likely. Usually.
Well, other than he was on vacation. So I mean, he did legit schedule this vacation like in April, I believe, and it just the timing for us, unfortunately, was the same time as his vacation.
He's been there. Via
Every
Zoom
year
in the past, though when he's had to be. So I mean,
yeah.
But anyway, there is a change. So the other dude was there, and I thought he was really nice and sounded good. We'll see what actually is going on as time goes on and they get the new person put in.
Well, just correct me. The governor appoints that position, correct?
Yeah.
It seems to me like that would be the case, yeah. Although they're under Lara's umbrella, technically they're a co-equal branch, which reports directly to the governor. So I can't imagine that Orlane Hawks, the director of Lara, would be hiring for his position. I think it would be great.
Yeah, gets appointed by that. I don't know what kind of input she chooses to take, but I know that the MCMA made a statement that they want to work with her to help get somebody in there to help fight off all the illegal activity. That is the reason why they're not doing well right now.
Mm-hmm.
It irritates the shit out of me because you have a market that's on the improve. It's a $2 billion market. You have all the indicators that everything's going great, except for people who claim that their success is impeded by this unregulated marketplace. Yet again, we're up. I can't remember how much percentage we are over last year. 27% increase over 2021 at this point, something along those lines. So it's hard to argue that in a 27% increasing market that you're suffering because of the unregulated actors.
So I will say I've heard Robin discuss, sounding hopeful that some of the big money interests might want to work more on making the existing system more efficient, as opposed to like trying to, put some of that energy and resources toward, hurting the caregiver system as a more intelligent move to create a better scenario for themselves. And hopefully that's the whole lender influence and stuff like that kind of being out of the way now. Although the concept of believing that other activity hurts the bottom line is a problem still, but
true. And I think it's just understanding, what the caregiver system truly is. And a lot of these companies are out-of-state companies who really don't understand Michigan's infrastructure and are coming in and trying to change it. And I think that's where it just really got boggled.
I agree with that, but I'll say there's a lot of Michigan companies that don't understand enough about Michigan.
I'll say this too, that there's a lot of activity that they are not happy with, that they label as caregiver activity. That's not really caregiver activity.
Right.
It's just straight up black market stuff. Because before caregivers, there was black market, and then there was caregivers, just a little teeny bitty caregivers. That's all. But most of this black market stuff that still goes on, and that's what they're trying to label as a caregiver problem.
Mm-hmm. They seem to not like anything that's not them.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Right.
Ultimately,
if you don't have to admit that you did something wrong or that you're bad at business and that's why you're failing, then it's easy to find a scapegoat, and either the government, or the municipality or the unregulated market. Those are the three favorite targets to explain why businesses fail, instead of saying we spent too much for capital, or we have too much in the C-suite, or or we just didn't expect this, and now we're knocked to the bottom of the ring like a Mike Tyson punch. I mean, just be honest.
Right.
Don't try and blame others.
Yeah.
Well, these groups came in without, I don't know, I think they underestimated the movement that was already in place here in Michigan, and thinking that they could just come in and have their way with it. And, you know, having a group like MiCIA and having just the organization of this movement that's been going on for decades in Michigan, I think they were surprised by that. And I don't know. I kind of lost
It's possible. Whereas, like the common member of the MiCIA, for example, you know, is aware of it and or, you know, possibly came from that world. So it's part of their perspective. And many people understand that activity goes on no matter the era or the laws or anything. That stuff should be understood coming into this arena, and not just all of a sudden believing, oh no, because that stuff that's been going on forever is, you know, still going on no matter what the laws are. Our bottom line is now affected. We have to do
I paid for a license, so
there's nothing
they
you
have
can do. The laws have been really, really restrictive at times. Still goes on.
It'd be great if the
Yeah.
governor appointed somebody from our group, from this side somewhere. I think that would be really beneficial.
I think that you're right. And it is entirely possible for a regulated and an unregulated market to coexist successfully in a state. Right now, again, we have a $2 billion regulated market growing at a 27% success rate. And every dollar that goes into the regulated market is one that doesn't go into the unregulated market. So if you look at it from that perspective, the unregulated market successfully taking business out of the unregulated market's pockets right now. So that's what they actually
and the amount of caregivers and patient numbers is getting smaller too, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. The
Just on
medical
its own,
program
without having
continues.
to hurt the program, you know, just it does its own thing. You know?
I had several people come up to me and apologize because they were not going to renew their medical license for their dispensary. They said, I cannot renew my provisioning center license. I just don't do enough business in the medical side to make it worthwhile. I love patients. I'm going to do special things for patients. Rick, you got to trust me. I'm going to do special things for patients, but we just can't. And I get it. The whole program.
Well, the medical program sucks. I mean, it's
Right.
called medical, but it doesn't mean it's important to be around, because functionally it's expensive and it's very limited.
It was designed by the legislature, not designed by us. The
Yeah.
CRMLA, designed by us. The MMFLA, the legislature, the Republican-dominated
The
legislature.
MMFLA is better for patients than the medical program is. And
Yeah.
it is a good idea for retailers or even maybe cultivators and processors to make it clear that they have an understanding of medical uses and health and wellness approaches to the cannabis, and take it upon themselves to orient things in that way for certain.
Well, in
Go
the
ahead, Adam. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just was going to say, I think the one thing is, in the cannabis space, you can claim medical where you can't in anything else. So you can claim a medical connection in your cannabis and don't have to bring it in front of some board, or there's nothing preventing you from having a medical sticker on your product.
You're saying I'm using it for this reason by right, whether I'm in a registry or not.
Right.
I'm
And
using it
the
for medical
cannabis industry doesn't prevent us from moving it from the medical to the adult use side. And it can be labeled as medical in adult use.
Okay.
Most industries, you can't do that. You can't. Medical's medical.
That was kind of a functional move that was added in, given
So
the
you
set of
don't need that.
circumstances as it was unfolding by the department at the time. Yeah.
Can you imagine how it would be if someone were to drop their medical license like I just talked about? Can you imagine how horrible it would be to be stuck with all that inventory that by law you're not allowed to send back to where you got it from, that you would just have to eat? If we didn't have that rule where you could transfer from medical to adult use, that would just be a disaster for anybody that decided to drop that med license, for all of their inventory to be useless. So I'm glad that we have that. But one of the things that we hear continually is the abuses in the system, and retailers accuse other retailers of bringing in product from the unregulated market in order to sell. And I'm still confused about how that happens, but that's one of the things they talk about, are these transfers from med to adult use, and how sometimes things get slid in.
There were some issues with that, I guess, and there were some concern about how it was handled. I think that was part of the discussion that Rick had with the AG. But Jen Bronson asked, when do you think they'll come directly for rec home grows? What I think is that if they're successful with the low-hanging fruit of villainizing caregivers and saying you have to peel back existing caregiver rights, right, then they keep on moving from there. And eventually, you do get to the regular home grow, where they use a lot of the same arguments they've been using about these renegade grows that just do whatever they want to do and sell to anybody, the way they describe it, and stink up the neighborhood and all the other stuff, which might go on, but it isn't this rampant, issue as described.
My answer would be never. My answer is that it's just too much involved in Michigan right now. You'll never be able to take it away from us. Right. I can understand where they might have hesitation about a caregiver growing for 5 patients, but 12 plants for a personal use. There are other states that respect that amount as well. It doesn't seem to me logical that we would see a regression from that. Now, totally, will they try and take away caregiver rights? No question about it. And we need to be very concerned.
Well,
and patient rights too.
Well, and I'll continue on. I'd like to believe too we stop that from happening, but when they do it is after they do what I described, and then they will go for smaller businesses. They already try to really hurt the ability for the micro businesses to get up and running and to have a fair chance. They were upset at the new micro business A license, with the being able to buy the back in the wholesale market for
process market, right?
Did you guys hear about Ann Arbor's move last night in City Council to pass the ability for license holders to own multiple licenses on the same property, allowing for someone to get a consumption lounge license on their property if they'd like to? So that happened at City Council last night.
Well, and only in Ann Arbor would they be that open. That's great.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Jen says township by township, like the caregivers. We know what's going on with the caregivers. Jen has done a lot of work, in that specific area, and made sure a lot of people knew about, these really restrictive measures that are being tried in these localities. They might try that, but this still has to be challenged. This is still wrong that they're able to tell caregivers they can't, take care of their patients in their own home. That prohibits that. That's state law.
Well, I think if we all started the dispensaries, obviously when rec came, the ball was dropped on medical. So why can't other dispensaries now start pushing for people to get their med cards and get that registry going again? And then people will start coming and buying med, and that will change the whole dynamic of that.
Because nobody cares. Be honest, nobody cares. It's the caregivers that care. We actually put that, 11 o'clock at night, we're doing whatever it is to figure out what it is for our patient, and nobody on that busy side of the bigger side of business has the time or capacity to do that. I think medical lays with caregivers. We've handled it this long. Give us some vitality and some validity in a license that allows us to, sell into dispensaries, whatever. I don't know, but
I like that idea too. We're far from that politically, from being a very serious push in the legislature changing the law or something like that.
But in a best case scenario, for sure, what I'd like to see is the legitimization of that home business, that caregiving opportunity, so people that really know what they're doing can actually get it out there too.
Yeah, I can see a reasonable negotiation there. It'd be for supplies. I know right now supply isn't an issue. Supply of something really good consistently might be. That would help out with those things.
To go back to Jen's point too, MiRTMA. The one good thing about MiRTMA is it's specific. There's no way a township could limit growing your 12 plants. The language is specific to point out that residences are able to grow. And it also points out that local municipalities cannot inspect or really inhibit people growing in any way. So I think MiRTMA was really good in helping solidify the ability to where local townships can't really get involved. There's really not much they can say, which is why I don't think at this point we've seen anybody try and do that. Caregivers, we were screwed over by that Supreme Court ruling, and that I don't think anything like that could come out of MiRTMA.
Well, when MiRTMA was written, we took the language of the medical and made it better. That's absolutely true. But I still feel like the point that townships could put some kind of restrictions on things. They may allow you to grow, but then restrict what hours you're able to have people to come into your home. We've seen that before. You can only see patients between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. We've seen that, and they can disallow people from coming to your home.
Red Center's bringing up another one of those restrictive things that show up on some of those local.
But they can
have to have 5 acres and 72. What was that, Jamie?
I want to be timely with Jen's responding to what Anton was saying. Anton needs a little credit every once in a while, so she's providing. To make sure he gets it.
But they can write whatever they want into their ordinances until those ordinances are challenged in court. They haven't been proved constitutional. Yeah. And yes, people can go ahead and do what they want to do, and let the township come and tell you can't. And then take them to court and challenge them, because not
everybody wants to do that. It's a simple version, but you're right. I mean, I'm still very correct.
And
a lot of townships will have this weird policy, but they won't enforce it. They'll just have it. They think it covers their ass somehow. They have it on the books, but they won't ever really enforce it.
Don't invite someone to walk into the path of an overzealous cop who's going to just go ahead and rip up all their plants because they violated an ordinance. We all know that those redneck sons of bitches are out there, and that they will abuse this power if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
These are like deed restrictions, people.
So like Sean's, perspective on this is kind of what we were talking about, kind of what Rick was saying. And there's a version of that takes place in Oklahoma too, although Oklahoma's having its own set of issues in a lot of areas. But
just to remind everybody, we have a ton of podcasts of people that are audio only, so we read the comments here. Could you put that, Sean? Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, let's put it back up there.
Our Alexa and our Spotify users. Sean Owens, right? Caregivers are the microbrews of the industry and should be allowed to compete as such. That's a comparison that's oftentimes made, not always accurate, but it is absolutely. It's the way everybody looks at it. It's the way the common man would see that particular line of businesses. So that's how we talk about it, because that's how it's most commonly perceived.
And I'm not product up against any of them.
But while we would want the craft grower, understand that I'll bet you 80 to 90% of the craft breweries are now owned by big alcohol.
And something like that could also happen in this arena too, for sure.
Right. So we have to understand that, the craft grower is going to get sucked into the industry if he's good enough.
I think that the craft brews had like a golden moment, right? Where they had like 10 years where they were really, you could really dig Sam Adams because you knew it was brewed in Boston, right? And then, Anheuser-Busch comes in, or whomever scoops somebody up, and then all of a sudden it's the same bottle, but it's not the same.
And Red Center's throwing out more just very challengeable stuff that shows up in some of those stupid
right. All that, to me, all that stuff is challengeable.
They're saying a patient under 21 can't consume or receive cannabis, and of course, a patient could be, a child.
2 years old.
I think certainly if there's an ordinance officer trying to write a ticket and here's a 19-year-old kid, imagine Josie in her wheelchair. Here's a 19-year-old kid handing him a medical marijuana card. I don't think that ordinance officer writes that ticket. I think that a lot of this is scare tactics. Go ahead, Rick. I'm sorry.
No, I would hope not. But like you said earlier, in some of these rural areas with a hard, old, oppressive mindset, it's a different animal a little bit. Need some looking into some of those municipalities, some changes. The younger crowd needs to get involved. That's what I think.
I'm part of that younger crowd who says she's quoting from one of the ordinance languages that says caregiver can't consume cannabis with any other person in their home, end quote, to which I say bull quote, shit quote. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know what this means. Somebody, I can see what the kids are saying these days.
Netflix and chill got the band hammer. Okay.
Still get the band hammer. Okay.
I read it. I don't understand it, but I read it. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, we have a lot of people that are getting into cannabis nowadays, and they're used to having a wide open world. And then when you tell them, but if you register as a patient, here's a restriction that your township puts on you, or if you register as a caregiver, here's a restriction the township puts on you, and that pisses them off. And I'm
Well, I
and,
mean, there's
you know,
a positive side to it too, though, Rick. You know, I voted with my medical marijuana card this year, and they didn't have it on the list for identification. So that actually changed across states. So hey, there's 72 pieces of ID. Positive
Nice.
thinking, right?
Mhm.
That's absolutely right.
I'm excited about what we have available for us, and I'm excited about some of the things going on. The MiCIA conference is great because it gets an opportunity for people to get together and talk about things in an informal setting so that alliances can be made and information can be shared. Same thing with the golf outings that we talked about too. I know the MiCIA has done pizza lunches for lawmakers and things like that too.
And
There's
seasonal
a lot of
events for networking and stuff with really good conversations and things like that too. But as we said, we we look forward to that one in the summer. I just want to bring back Red Setter Farms here. Yeah, it sucks that there's the until it has to be challenged or the possibility of somebody wanting to enforce a code enforce or something on that. It's all fucked up and stupid. He's right.
But it's not as bad as it used to be.
You know,
That's
on top of that
unbelievable.
subject too, for them to be able to make any type of claim like that, they have to have something to back it up. So anytime you walk into any type of committee meeting, there's always going to be something that has to be claimed. And then there's the burden of proof in that situation. And they didn't do a very good job through the economic group that they used when it comes to some of the claims they made. But just to be able to get some of that information, you'd have to go through either your attorney or Freedom of Information Act. And it takes a long time to compile that to make a claim, like years.
And that's for people who care about the truth. As you see, the things move through without necessarily having to meet those burdens that we all
Absolutely.
think they should have to.
And it puts it back on the person that's trying to defend themselves, which is kind of screwed up. But at the end of the day,
make a big the problem.
I think it's good too that we're able, the MiCIA is an approachable organization. I think Robin and Ida have kind of made it that way. I mean, you have over 400 members, and I think probably if you spoke to every single one and non-members, people like myself, I can text Robin and I will get a response, right?
And you were at the event, by the way. We should mention that.
I was, and boy, I had a goddamn blast. It was so much
It was
fun.
awesome to see you there.
Right? It was fun. But I think the MiCIA has intentionally fostered this approachability, which has strengthened a huge portion of the industry, right? Because it really, instead of division in other portions that we see, they've fostered these alliances among the advocates, among the business people, among the politicians, the bureaucrats, and everybody is cohesive and able to come together and have a conversation. And I really think MiCIA is a lot of the glue that holds that together. So, I mean, kudos, Ida, big fan.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's important to understand our backgrounds too, both Robin's and mine, and we have a personal stake, in the cannabis industry, and it's personal. And we want to, be there and help as many people as we can, no matter what the issue and what they choose to, how they choose to grow cannabis.
The fact is, when we speak as advocates and advocacy organizations like MiNORML, ASA, the Michigan Weedsters, all the different groups of Caregivers Association, when we come in to speak, oftentimes, unless we have the MiCIA echoing our words oftentimes are not given any credibility or any credence. If I say something and then Robin says the same thing, everybody's good, right? So the fact is, when we work together, it's even more of an impressive thing. But without corporate partnerships, or without, the trade association partnerships, rather, it's very difficult to talk to people in Lansing because we don't employ people specifically to be lobbyists. And in order to accurately, gauge what's going on in the state capitol, you have to be there on a regular. It's just not possible.
And or be Zara. Zara did a lot of great meetings that were not otherwise typically available.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how official it is, but I know that Leah is planning on stepping up and heading up the cannabis caucus now, and I'm really happy about that.
That's awesome to hear.
Yep. We have some strong advocates. Rick spent a lot of time in Lansing as well, too, Rick Anstiss.
You know what? Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, man. I mean, Rick, I've just kind of seen over the last couple of years how you really, realize that you have a voice and an understanding of things and able to convey this message to decision makers. And you've really just taken it upon yourself to be, a big part of that process and to help, positively affect change. And it's not gone unnoticed. You do a lot of good work. And we should point that out before we get further.
Let's not underestimate that. Let's not I don't want to praise one without giving a chance for the other. But yeah, Rick, you've been doing a great job. Latrisha, you're there all the time too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was specifically excluding. It's all good.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate it. I'm a simple Michigander guy from the woods. I got into this last year and I saw that people were listening to the fact that I was going to Lansing and helping all of you guys that have been doing it way before me. So thank you for leaving somewhere for me to look to listen to try and project the right message. So I feel like we're all vessels and we all do really well in our own unique way. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a fostering of the OGs in this whole thing who are really making an effort to bring up a lot of the, I don't know if you call it the younger generation, or who are really passing down relationships and allowing those networks to still be maintained and progress. And none of that would happen without Rick, Jamie, Ida, anybody on this call, right? And I think that's the important thing, is having people who have been doing this for a long time who are still passionate and willing to pass that passion down to folks who want to at some point pick up the torch and carry on.
Of course, nobody's more G than OG Hash Bash, Mr. Adam Brook. So, I mean, let's credit where credit's due.
If he wants to take a nap through this show, he can take a nap.
I'm awake.
He's earned that right.
I'm not the oldest one here.
That's true.
I might have been
it never gets old, does that joke? No.
Hey, so Rick, I've been enjoying this conversation. I kind of meant to get to this earlier, but that's fine because there's been some good stuff. But on top of all the other stuff, you do events too, and we'll still get to, making sure people know about some of those upcoming things that are happening here. But you have a podcast, and you've had some really cool people on it, some very well-known, people, cannabis-related discussions, and it's coming out of the gates, really good. And you were able to add Dana Nessel to that list, and it's a show that you haven't put out yet. You haven't broadcast it yet. You're going to edit it. You do the recording and edit and put it out. But you were willing to let us have a clip or two and to kind of go over. And we talked last week about the change at the CRA. And just in a discussion with you, you brought up that in part of the interview, Dana addressed that there were, some things that weren't handled properly. And I'm not sure how much detail it went into, but it offers up a little bit more insight into what happened with that. And if I understand correctly, anyway, do you want to talk about what went on, and then we'll take a look at it?
Well, initially I brought up what I wanted to speak to her about on the podcast, and I brought up Brisbo's departure and what may or may not be happening with the CRA and charges and or things, and she promptly stopped me there and said that there's nothing she could go into detail with that. So she gave me the best kind of response she could, I think, and shed some light on the issue, and it does have concerns of who's going to take that position of Brisbo's position there, the director, because it's important. Whoever goes there, it's got to be the right kind of person, right? I think initially we need somebody.
The MCMA hope so, yeah.
Yeah. Initially, we need somebody from the cannabis industry, somebody with boots on the ground, the vibe, the understanding of it all. And I know we got plenty of those options out there. So.
But realize you can't work for the government if you smoke pot.
Yep, and that's also part of my interview. Whether
That's another good reason why we should take cannabis off the state's controlled substances list.
yeah,
I understand that. That's a long-term solution, but the immediacy is that by September 27th or something like that,
but it also should be challenged.
Well, yeah.
If it's for medical only.
But that's not going to happen this time. So we're not going to have a realistic discussion about the replacement there, and talking about taking cannabis off their list of controlled substances is a far afield. But it can't be someone like us. It'll be someone from government itself who's already used to running a big active department. There's over 200 employees there, according to our Mr. Sova, who mentioned that during his speech at the MiCIA this week, or last week rather. So at this point, you're looking at someone who's already got that level of experience to come in here. Plus, it's high profile, and they know it. It's going to be high visibility, and they know it. It's a very intense public relations position as well as a managerial one. So it's not going to be someone that they're just taking a chance on.
Yeah, no, that's
probably
true.
Be somebody who's had experience in state departments, as a bureaucrat.
Yeah, which makes me worried that it's law enforcement because
yuck, I'll jump up and down, scream forever on that. Ugh.
Well, I think a lot of people would, and that's part of the process, I guess. That's about 2.5 minutes long or so. Let's check it out. And can you hear it?
Rick Thompson is so awesome.
So can you hear it or not? I can hardly hear it. I can't really hear it.
Yeah, can you turn it up? Start it over.
It's up all the way on my end.
Well, it's just stressing that we can't hear
it.
Yeah,
it looked like it was. It's not like a clip. It was like being played and then recorded. Maybe it looks like.
Yeah, it was off of my cell phone. That was the best I could give you at the moment. Sorry.
Okay, so that's why the sound just won't.
Yeah, it's on me.
But Rick, there's a place on the internet where we can go to actually view the videos.
You're going to be When are you going to? Not yet, but he's going to be broadcasting it.
Right. So my To Be Completely Blunt podcast likes to drop every other Friday, but that one I am trying to expedite to get it out a little earlier, possibly next Wednesday. But I'm not going to put a direct date on it. But I'm rushing to get it done. So.
Okay, cool. Well, that was
sorry,
kind of exciting. It's all right. No, I appreciate you trying to provide that, man. I thought that was really cool, to provide that and try to offer up some information. I mean, there are a couple, bits and pieces of things you might be able to put together along, with some of those inferences that you were discussing, and it'd be nice to hear exactly what she was saying and that type of stuff. But now the cliffhanger is when you broadcast that, we all must be glued to it so that we can hear what she had to say.
Yeah, these are right there.
And she did address she gave some examples of the issue of testing and getting people in the State Department that are qualified to do the best job for Michigan, and that's what she wants. And sometimes, in certain cases, some people use medical marijuana, and it's stopping them at the door, So.
That's so true.
Yeah.
We try very hard to expunge the records of people who've got past criminal convictions for cannabis and other things. Great Lakes Expungement Network is a good example of that. But just having cannabis in your bloodstream, stopping you from doing certain things. And
it's so stupid. I said I worked for the federal government for years. I was a medical patient, smoked pot for years with a top secret security clearance, and it only became an issue until they found out. Right? They trusted me at the highest levels with all their classified shit, and it only became an issue when they found out. So the whole thing.
Can you imagine reading something classified through the foggy brain of a pothead? National security was protected, man.
And now they're going to blame some pothead for taking them boxes to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Anton did that right before.
Anton Harb. Fingerprints are all over there. There's a new Edward Snowden. Watch out. Yeah.
I was I was a very trusted guy. They found out, oh, this guy smokes pot. I was the fucking boogeyman. It was so stupid.
Wow.
Yeah, well, leave it up to government to care too much about stupid things and not care at all about other things. You know, like playing fair in the testing industry with your cannabis.
Or let's take it a step further, ensuring the health and welfare of their workforce. If there's medicine out there that helps people, they're willing to forego that for basically propaganda. There's no other explanation for it. There's no scientific reason. There's no legal reason. I mean, it's propaganda.
When I think about PTSD, after I think about soldiers, I think about firefighters and police officers and people who have to actually look at dead bodies and try and rescue people and not be successful doing that. And I think those are the people who could benefit the most from having some of the relief that this cannabis brings. And yet they're the people that are probably the least likely to be able to get away with it, other than cops who get away with it.
And remember, and it's completely cool. I worked on the job for years. I was on fentanyl and oxy and every other goddamn thing under the sun because that's what the VA prescribed me, and that was totally cool. No problem. Boy, you smoke a joint. Holy shit, they're coming for you. Stupid.
Anton, weren't you saying that they send you bags of pills still?
I still get bags of. Yeah, it is shocking. The VA. Yeah, you can't even get in to see a VA doctor. It's not even a thing right now. Detroit, wow. It's months away, and they just send you bags of pills. It's really shocking. I save them, and then someday I'm going to make an art project out of it. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. You know, it's just again, if you've got a contract with a pharmaceutical provider that you're going to have use, X number of pills a month, and your demand is less than X number of pills a month, you still got to ship them out. You still got to push them to people who don't need them. That's just the ridiculousness of the system.
Yeah, yeah. But I was told 6 to 8 weeks before I can get in to see the pain.
Wow.
Oh yeah, 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, suffer long.
6 to 8 weeks.
My
I
God.
told them I can buy heroin on the street and it'll be better than what they're going to give me.
Wow, you should never say that to a physician because they'll cut your ass off.
It still said 6 to 8 weeks. I thought maybe I'd hurry them up a little bit, but no. 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, man. You better get back on them.
30 days in the hole, right? Newcastle Brown. Sure, bring you around.
But I did a telemedicine appointment today for the first time. Went well.
Did you have to stick your phone in any place crazy, so they could see it?
Yeah.
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 No.
Would you have to show them?
Wasn't that strict.
Anticlimactic. Okay.
Can you tilt the camera a little more, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. So
it was just convenient,
Well, and some people may not remember, but there was a huge fight. Gosh, what was it? 15, 16, maybe 17 about telemedicine coming in after the Walsh bills passed, when they decided that, that all the physician appointments had to be an in-person physician. Dr. Bob, right? Dr. Bob used to do, not the Detroit Dr. Bob, but the other Dr. Bob.
Dr. Bob Thompson.
Yeah.
He used to do telemedicine for people in the Upper Peninsula and things like that who couldn't get to him in order to make the medical marijuana certifications, and that became an issue.
I forgot the name of the company, but Adam Devaney's
Nug MD
continued to do it through even before the emergency rules allowed it and all that kind of stuff, and argued that he could do it and told the state he was doing it and never got any problems.
The interesting thing about all of that is that the federal government requires it for Medicaid patients.
While what Rick was talking about was going on one side of the hall, clearing the way for telemedicine and other instances was also going on too on the other side. Yeah. That was one of the things we pointed out.
But this is like everyone always says, oh well, it's federally. You can legalize weed all you want. Well, here's something that's legal federally that they've required amongst people, and the state's blocking it from this one aspect because it was just weed that you couldn't use telemedicine for in Michigan. You could use it for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some people have argued that you still can.
Well,
there's like an in-person meeting, and that could be like depending on what's needed between the doctor and patient, that could telemedicine visit might qualify.
There are doctors that do telemedicine cards.
Yeah,
exactly. Nowadays, it's approved now.
You can do it now. Yeah,
I mean, it's
NUG-MD is a big one. That's national.
Yeah. Yep. They've really opened it up. Remember when you had to have like triplicate forms signed with blood ink and all that crap that send stuff into the Department of Community Health, and it took them 9 months to get you a card, and then you had to carry all your paperwork like in your back pocket, and you guarded it, like it was a brick of gold, because if you lost that, you couldn't have your medical marijuana privileges at all, because they don't issue the cards, and they went from being so super protective about this whole thing to now realizing, I don't care. $60 for 2 years, big deal.
Right.
Telemedicine, sure, whatever. Register by email or fine. Send it in through the computer. We love it. It's so much more casual.
It used to
now.
be you misspelled one word or you missed one number, and they invalidated your form.
Yeah,
it used to take 8 months to get the cards. And then some places wouldn't take the paperwork. You had to wait for the real card to show up.
And you'd call them, and they were very friendly on the phone with you.
Mm-hmm.
What was that woman?
There's
Claire or something like that.
There's a letter that's required in some cases from the Attorney General's office as part of the expungement process, and that situation is also like 6 months. Takes 6 months to get one of those. It kind of reminds me of that.
To get a letter out of the Attorney General's office?
Yeah. Actually, what the time frame is right at this exact moment, I guess I don't know, but it has been that long. Yeah,
that's crazy. They'll show up at your house tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, make a threatening post on the internet, and they'll show up at your house.
You just gotta say and write the right thing, and they'll be there right away. So. Hey, I got a few things to talk about.
It's a different way of skipping the line right there.
Right.
Hey, while you're taking me
trying to get you over
by a notary public, so I can get this.
Truth be told, I did see an upcoming fundraiser with the Attorney General, so I'm excited to see that people are embracing her and stuff like that.
She's the best choice.
God, that guy DePerno is crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's their. I mean, I guess there really is no rational, choice. She is the choice.
Isn't he under investigation? I mean,
yeah. But I'm not even
for the whole voting machine scam where they convinced local election officials to give them up the voting machines, and it took them to like B&Bs,
right,
and broke into them.
Those.
Yeah.
What?
But I'm not even talking about her election issues, because I think she'll win her election. I don't think she has a problem there. I just like the fact that she has embraced us back. We reached out and she's paying attention. And we were
good to her the first time, and that's election year again.
We're getting a lot more play out of her than we are the governor. So,
I should say, and it's not like, I mean, I don't know, like the point of bringing this up, because it's Zara, but Dana Nessel showed up at Zara's memorial and spoke there on in honor of Zara, and I thought that was really special.
Yeah, I saw some of the posts on that. I wasn't able to make it to that. I went to the original services, but
pretty cool.
She's not just the best candidate in the race. I'm philosophically aligned with pretty much everything I've heard her say to a great degree. She has some liabilities, fumbling the whole governor kidnap a case and Flint water crisis not resulting in convictions. there's a couple of knocks, but the fact of the matter is I like Dana as a person. I liked her before she was Attorney General. I was privileged to know her before she was the Attorney General. And I want her to have an opportunity to be in that position and also to protect our industry for another 4 years.
You can't be a bureaucrat and not hit a landmine, right? I think eventually everybody hits a landmine, but really what sets the good ones apart from the bad ones is how they handle that issue. And really that's what sets the person apart. So, I mean, when I look at a candidate, I mean, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to rule on issues that may not necessarily be popular, but how did they handle it? Are they accurately representing the people in which they're supposed to be representing? And I think at the end of the day, she's done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think also too, when you talk about, many people in our industry like to say she didn't keep her promises to us on the campaign trail. Well, when you have 4 years to accomplish something, it's difficult to make all of those promises happen. 8 years, it's a little bit easier. When you have 4 more years, especially when you're not
she
going to
said
see
it
really.
before realizing what arena she was stepping into in any real way.
Mm-hmm.
So that had a lot to do with it.
Well, we know that those of us that were there when she took office, we know that she had a whole list of people that she wanted to work in her office, and then she was told that she had to accept just a ton of personnel that were holdovers from the Bill Schuette 8-year, Holocaust that was, and being stuck with people in that mindset that we hate cannabis and Bill's our hero kind of a mindset, and then turning them around into the way that she and we feel. That itself is a managerial nightmare, and it's not something you can accomplish overnight. So people that used to look for ways to screw us are not easily turned around to look for ways to help us. So she's had a big job to deal with.
She's the best choice. She's going to be showing up, I think, at an event that Rick is putting on. Why don't you kind of go over some of the events you have coming up, Rick, so people know what's happening out there? And
well, she'll be at my Hazy Holes event briefly.
Sounds good.
For a fundraiser. And I was honored that she, accepted that, because it's, the cannabis industry, and we need that kind of support, So, and she clearly needs our support as well. So, and rightfully so. I think we're on a path to a positive end result, but I don't know, we got a long ways to go. Obviously, we got a lot of navigating, but she's definitely the best.
She's our best choice for moving forward under any circumstances. Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, then this weekend I have Sunset Coast Highway Horticulture is putting on Bluesden Infused in Niles, Michigan, and Michigan Weedsters will be there, and that is a licensed event, and I think that was important for me to get involved in because one, there's none of the bad players involved in there. They're all grassroots entities from the local area primarily. And Michigan Weedsters and the caregivers were welcome. So as this event is licensed under float, Highway Horticulture is kind of operating most of its functionality. And they've welcomed Michigan Weedsters.
And Green Stem's a sponsor or one of the distributors there?
Yes, Green Stem is a sponsor. Sun Provisioning in Decatur is also involved. Actually, here, what am I doing?
When is that, Rick? What weekend is that?
Coming up this weekend. Coming up.
Yeah, this weekend. I don't know if you can see that very well, but
Belushi's Farm, yeah.
Yeah. So we got
sponsor. Okay.
Yeah, Green Stem, Sun Provisioning.
Well, Green Stem was at the MiCIA conference and participated in the boats and all that kind of stuff. That was fun.
I'm giving I'm giving 3 sets of these away on my podcast. So check out my Instagram and my Facebook, and there's an opportunity to win a couple tickets.
Is it under your name, Mr. Fun Guy? Is it under Big Cloud? Which?
No, that particular one is To Be Completely Blunt.
To Be Completely Blunt. Okay.
Is that the Instagram then?
Yes.
What's the name of the event this weekend again, Rick?
Blues and Infused.
Blues and Infused.
And it's
Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd.
Dan
Couple
Aykroyd and
up-and-coming,
Dan-
guys.
Yeah, the entire band. So I don't know how many's in their band. It's like 8 or 12 people, a jazz band, and they should probably bring a hell of a show, I'm sure.
As many of the, as many of the originals as possible, or is it just a whole new band? Do you know?
No, I don't know for sure, but I kind of asked the wife that myself. I was like, hopefully there's more of the originals involved, but I'm not completely sure.
Well,
I don't think Matt Guitar Murphy is alive any longer. I believe Matt.
I'm sure there's some of those,
Sure.
realities that would stop that from happening, but
I'm not sure Duck is around either. So those are some of the original band members from the Blues Brothers, and they had a horn section too that was good. So that sounds like fun.
It should be a lot of fun. Yeah, anybody that wants to come check it out. It's Niles, Michigan. So.
the next
And then this weekend it'll be on Saturday from 2 to 9.
and then they assume the concert is 7 to 9 or something like that, or
Yeah, I don't know that exact, but I think it's about something like that, 7 to 9, 8 to 9.
okay.
They're filming some of Belushi's new TV show there too, aren't they? It's
the Discovery Channel. Yeah, they did give him a second season, and the first episode will be filmed there. So, some parts of it. So, yeah. So if you come down, who knows? You might wind up on Discovery Plus.
Can't guarantee it.
Then behind that, we have the Cure Michigan Cup at Big Cloud Farms, September 9th through the 11th. And we got Cottonmouth King coming. And just a ton of people involved. We're going to have our panel again. We'll have Mr. Hash Bash and Medical Mondays, and we'll talk about some political things and some things about the up and coming election, I'm sure. And then a lot of great entertainment that Big Cloud likes to bring. So if you haven't been to Big Cloud, go ahead and check that out. Instagram and Facebook. I think the webpage alone, if you haven't been there, might entice you to come check out this cup.
What's the date on the Cottonmouth Kings?
I'm sorry?
What's the date on that one?
That'll be September 10th, my birthday.
Awesome.
Actually, my wife and I's birthday. We both same birthday.
Right on.
Yeah.
So we had Jeff on last week with an event coming up on the 26th and 27th, I think, which is down that way. I don't know if you caught that last week or not.
Oh yeah. In Hartford.
Yes, at the Hartford racetrack.
Right. Yep. Now he's a great guy. He's a grassroots player in this whole bit. I have nothing but support for that gentleman and his endeavors, and I think he'll do well in Hartford. It's a nice place.
Cool.
It's actually right next to my failed micro business.
Cool. Yeah, just tossing it in on the list of events that we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
And also, Jamie Cooper's got one of our annual events coming up this week too. Isn't that right, Rick?
Canna Cantina on Thursday. That's out on the Lake Michigan shoreline, Grand Haven. Another is similar to MiCIA's event, but much smaller, and a single day event. So it's a lot of fun. Primarily for the Assembly magazine and other industry people.
Right on. So, Jim, I know you got to go soon. Do you want to get anything in before you have to split?
I got a couple choice words for you. No, I actually, just the Antheo Fest coming up September 18th, and
yeah, that's really close now.
I know,
so yeah, right up.
A month away, coming up Sunday. So, it starts at 111. It's at the same place Hash Bash is. Adam can tell you where that is. The diet. Mushroom Matt was on Medical Mondays last night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff perking up everywhere.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Nice, Rick. Nice. Yeah. I'm gonna try to make it to Niles this weekend, maybe. But thank you guys. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, man.
Take care, brother. See you later.
Bye.
Rick, I'd like to say too, you do so much. you do a lot in the community, man. I mean, even among the veteran population, I know you and I have had several,
And
talks.
And
and
Anton,
chats.
when you say that, you are very specifically excluding Latrisha, right?
What do you mean? No, Latrish is
Trying to
awesome.
make
too.
reference. I was pretty inclusive to Latrisha earlier, so he's trying to juxtapose. That's all. So, although it
yeah,
did make a couple of us laugh, so fuck you.
Latrish is awesome.
She
No, but-
deserves a lot of credit too. There's no question.
She does.
Oh,
that's,
well, yeah, and what's cool about her, she doesn't expect any of the credit, which makes it even cooler, right?
No.
Because
And-
those are the most genuine types of people.
yeah, the Amie Carter campaign, all the stuff she does. Please go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just going to say, Rick, he does a lot. I mean, we've had a lot of communications about what we can do for the veteran population, and he's had several great ideas. And, I mean, I think that just shows that we're all working together, all these different facets and groups and types of people. And it all, the spirit of the plant brings us together, right? And it's just kind of cool to see.
Our good friend Mark from Native Cultivation says, excited about the festival. That sounds like a winner. Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd reviving the Blues Brothers. That's not an act that they do across the nation. This isn't just one stop in a nationwide tour. Rick, this is kind of a unique thing for the two of them. Isn't that true? You're muted, brother.
For some reason I was muted.
Yeah, I muted you because there's a lot of background noise, man. I'm sorry. But go
No
ahead.
worries. I got kids everywhere. Yeah, so it is unique. It's not something that is toured very heavily anymore. They'll actually be in Joliet the night before this on Friday.
Not too far away. Really.
So they kind of got like a back-to-back thing going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that's it. They were just in San Antonio about a week or so ago. But I think, yeah, they don't do a lot of this. It's a big band. I mean, just to move it out and about, it's six figures, and maybe then some, just to move a band like that around. So,
and it is for sure their only Michigan appearance, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big ass production, man. People should really go check that out.
Cool.
That's exciting for sure.
Yeah, that's quite a get, man. Quite a coup for an
Yeah,
organizer.
I just real quick, I want to be able to say that Sarah Krause is kind of the head of this, and she works with Highway Horticulture. She's the manager there at Sunset Coast, and really all of the dynamics of all of that is to her. I just simply tried to facilitate and help her in any way I could. So everything you see this weekend will be in her glory. So I'm excited to see it.
Just get out of her way and help when you can. That's a smart plan. Strong women are everywhere. We just have to let them lead.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes, you do.
Sure. Yep, we suffer from having a lack of a female perspective in a leadership position. Shit, look how discompassionate we are towards things and people, right?
Yeah.
So
That's because we treat things like numbers or like packages instead of like humans. Go ahead, Jamie.
no, just I think it was 2 shows ago, maybe for Ida's Light a Joint with Ida. She had Krista Beller and
Katie and Robin.
and Katie from Greenstone. Yep. So
that was so much fun.
Yeah, that was cool.
So I need to fill this Monday this Monday because I totally spaced when I was making my schedule. So I need to maybe reach out to Trish, see if she's available.
I'm sure she'd make herself if she could. She's a mom with a bunch of kids, but I'm sure if she can, she will.
Yeah.
No, she's done a lot of research, but really been involved in a lot of these processes. Also, been a new voice, in Lansing, and so that's a worthy one for sure.
First class researcher too. She really gets into it when she takes a subject. She finds everything there is to know about it, and then makes her analysis. And that makes it, in my mind, all the more valuable.
Right. Yeah, that's really good.
Yep.
I like people who actually educate themselves and make it a point to learn and understand what it is they're actually doing and why they're doing it.
Having a curiosity and then mixing that with a knowledge of the internet and how to get information from it, that's a great combo. And she I believe has that. She talks about some things that she learned that I could not have accessed. Public records that I knew probably existed somewhere, but I would have no idea where to start.
Wow, that's amazing.
She's great.
Yeah,
Really
great asset.
Yep. And, and of course, as Amie Carter's a campaign manager, she learned an awful lot about the process of elections, as well as is having met been in some of the meetings where they explain what's expected of a representative if you are elected, So it's so curious to know, what's said to people when they're on a short list of folks who might make that office. It's curious.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm sure there's quite a bit that's needed to be said.
Apparently some of the lawmakers didn't listen because they're really bad people.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Jamie is preoccupied there, so
Yeah, it's like Stacey might come on and talk more about it. We'll see if she does. But there are some people talking about a multi-state protest.
For what?
For to shine some more light on the big money interests strategy of trying to take over the industry and grab market share by doing stuff like shitting on the caregivers and whatever the variations of that are in other states. Go ahead, Adam.
I think we should all avoid the dispensaries on 420.
that's their biggest sale day.
That should be the big campaign. Avoid 420.
Like the gas thing?
Yeah.
Do people do that? I'm not sure if that actually happens on that day and if there's an effect of it. It seems like more of a novelty that people pass around these days. I don't know.
I'd love to see a day of protest against the industry and how they treat people.
I think you'd actually have to go without gas
Right.
for a while to make the huge difference because you're planning on not doing it on a certain day. Make sure you got enough gas, first anyway. So you're going to spend the money.
People, Americans need some perspective too. So I was in Cuba this past February, right? And people would wait in line for 12 hours and they can get a maximum of 2.5 gallons of gas. And oftentimes they would wait in the line, and by the time they got to the front of it, they ran out of gas. It's amazing. Americans have no clue about how lucky we are to have access to it.
That's true. Perspective. You can look at some other people's situation and be pretty happy about it. So, Rick, I know you got to get going. Do you want to make sure you get something else in here? Leave us with some parting words and
Website for the festival so people know how to get tickets in advance.
Yeah, bigcloudfarms.org as far as our Big Cloud stuff, and this one, honestly, I don't know. So your best bet is to go to my To Be Completely Blunt podcast, and you'll find how to get the tickets either given away or purchased through the link. And aside from that, I just appreciate you guys and these kind of talks. I think the more podcasting, the more audio and video that we have out there speaking to these issues only helps brainstorm and create more great things. So thank you, everybody here.
cool.
So,
Thank you, Rick.
yeah, thank you.
Hey, we'll be in touch, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, bud, thanks.
Yep.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah, there's a little background noise there, a little bounciness.
It's that country warble.
Yeah, there you go. It's out in a remote place in Southwest Michigan. It's just
Yeah.
a vibe
When you
around.
get that far out in the boonies.
What Rick shows,
Dial up of the 2022.
what Rick shows us and what Zara showed us is that someone who has an interest can come in and even without a whole lot of support system can make a huge difference just by remaining engaged and involved. And then eventually by, in Rick's case, by taking a risk. Anytime you get into one of these business ventures, it's a risk. The golf tournament was a risk the first year. These blues and infused, it's all a risk. And, I'm certain that if Rick wasn't interested in the cannabis industry, he'd be successful in wherever he was at. But you can, just as a person, just as a single individual, make a fucking big difference.
Yeah.
If you stick to it.
Yeah, you don't even have to commit as much. I mean, we're recognizing a lot of work and energy and passion into this whole thing. But those who just take the time out to make the one call to their lawmaker when we're doing a little, campaign to try to oppose or support something, those few seconds, if that's what you got in you to do, help out a lot. You've now contributed and you're now a part of it. It's nice if somebody gets the bug and is able to utilize some of their resources in order to really help out in the ways that Trish and Rick have been demonstrating, in Anton, in my opinion, last couple of years.
Yeah,
Thanks, brother. I'm trying.
Yeah. Hey man, there's a lot of good veterans, a lot of great participants, some groups that have come and gone. But there needed to be somebody who kind of like is doing what you're doing. It's fueling a lot of that activity.
It's a passion for me. I mean, like I said, one of the things for me was the loss of voice, the loss of sense of purpose. When a lot of veterans are just so withdrawn. We just don't have I'll say the resources, but I guess it's really a drive or a will to pursue those resources is a better way to put it. So, and for me, taking the step to become engaged has become therapeutic. And the more I become engaged, the more positivity, the more positive things I'm able to do, which becomes even more therapeutic. And it's now become this kind of self-evolving animal that I just kind of enjoy it. I like the political angle on things. I like seeing a smile on people's faces when we're, this past November when we had our lobby day. I think we came together. We were a powerful voice. And from that powerful voice, we were able to, at least for now, stave off a pretty powerful entity, right? And I think that says a lot of. And we were just all normal people. There was, we had help from MiCIA. We had a lot of the players who have always been involved, but it was really just people expressing themselves, and that is what made those lawmakers see what they were doing, and kind of make sure we weren't harmed.
Well, you do have to keep in mind that this is one of the only grassroots efforts to get anywhere. And most grassroots efforts don't go anywhere.
I think the Environmental Protection Act,
Right.
the Endangered Species Act, rather, was really a move of activism. But you're right. I mean, it's hard to point to success stories when you look at American history because the powers that be do not wish to change, and so they resist change vigorously.
A lot of power comes from money too. It's all about dollars and cents. It always does. No matter what issue we look at, money's involved, and that leads to money is misinterpreted as power so many times, I think. And I think with the cannabis community, sick people are where the power comes from, right? And that is hard, even from a monetary perspective. It's hard to ignore at even the highest political levels.
But they installed bionics in Adam Brook now, so he can save the day. Every time we have an emergency in the cannabis industry, Adam will zoom in, right? Isn't that what they hooked you up with, Ben?
I will zoom in. That'll be me.
How you feeling, Adam? You feeling a little better?
Nah, I'm all right. Yeah, it's just a healing process. It's a long healing process. And I can't lift anything, so it kind of sucks. But I'm doing all right. I'll be at Big Cloud for the event. And that's my big goal.
They treat Adam really well at those Big Cloud events. So it'll be good recovery mode there.
I will be.
Yeah, that's a good place to convalesce, right?
A lot of cool things coming up. We got Canna Jam coming up, right? Was it October or what?
Oh,
the date?
yeah.
It's 8th or 9th, whatever the Saturday is.
Yeah.
And of course the joined by Stacey. How you doing, Stacey?
Hi, buddy.
Nice.
Echoes of Pink Floyd with the laser light show at night. To cap it off. But T Money Green, I think he's been nominated for a Grammy if he hasn't won one. I don't remember the story. We had him on Planet Green Trees a while ago. Played with a lot of the Motown veterans over there. Just awesome. And Adam, I'm sure, is very familiar with him.
Yeah, he plays my event.
Yeah, so there you go. And he's on there, and so's Laith Al-Sadi. So it's gonna be a great night. A lot of good cannabis, and there's gonna be a bunch of other stuff now. They got a bunch of new vendors coming in this year, building on last year. Really cool area to do one of those events. Float tried one, and they got hit by bad weather in April. So we take the same risk in October. Last year, 85 degrees.
Couldn't beat that.
Yeah, it worked out. So we kind of hope that something like that happens again. But we will see.
So we're in favor of global warming, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, our era it might come in handy a little bit. There might be this little transition zone where we just get some nice extra weather for a while.
There you go.
Could totally handle that.
Let everybody else burn. We'll be all right.
Yeah. Ida will take her huge bong out to the park, using a two-wheel dolly or something like that. So
I don't even. I shouldn't take. I'll be trolleying this.
Nice. No, there are a lot of things going on.
I didn't catch it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
I was just going to say I will be in Hazel Park on Saturday at Green Farm, and I will be in Stone Depot in Jackson on Friday, representing the awesome and amazing Redemption Cannabis brand.
Yeah, and of course, our new sponsor for the rest of the year.
Nice.
Yeah, so Ryan was bringing out that Mothers Against Drunk Driving is a very successful group.
He's so right. He's so right.
He is correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So Stacey's back with us now. Let's grab her quick before she drops off again.
Yeah.
It's Verizon, I tell you. Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the nationwide protest, which kind of came about on Instagram over the weekend. There's a gentleman named Derek Shirley who's an advocate out in Maine, and he and several other advocates have really been talking amongst each other and putting together a lot of the pieces of this big cannabis puzzle that we're seeing, and realize that there's a lot of similarities in what's going on by state. It's a lot of the same entities shooting for the same goal. And one of the main things is to take away our ability to home grow, which we're very lucky that we have here in Michigan. And I think that we can all agree that we don't want to see that go anywhere anytime soon.
Even the caregiver situation. I mean, it's more than most states, but there's no reason. It hasn't caused an issue, and we don't need that existing rights peeled back. But go ahead.
Exactly. Oh, for sure. And that's the point that we're going to try to make here in Michigan. But at this point, we've realized that it's kind of difficult to get everybody on the same page for one initial day. So it's kind of come to the point that we're going to have a week of action, and still kind of deciding the week at this point. But, we realize that in certain states, it would be more beneficial for them to do it on a Monday or a Tuesday at the Capitol. Where maybe it would be different, for us if we want to set up shop somewhere, maybe outside of a loom per se on a Saturday.
So there wouldn't be something going on every day in Michigan for a week, but throughout the country it wouldn't necessarily be exactly on the same day, but within the same week, so people can do the best day for the legislature or whatever the situation is. Okay.
Exactly. Yep. So, I mean, if people want to do several different protests throughout the week, that's fine. But, for planning sake, having it done on one day in a couple locations in the state here in Michigan, I think would be pretty effective. And, when we'll be kind of synchronized with other states. So let's say there'll be like 5 or 6 states that are doing their protests on the same day. So we'll go live on Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, and really, wave the flag.
And maybe Rick will be inspired to drive to each state that there's activity going on and report.
Just because I have
road
a car
trip
doesn't mean, I might do that.
Road trip?
He's got a new fancy car. He needs to take it on a road trip.
Not fancy. It's nice. Love it. So the fact is, you're talking about unifying the nation because you're seeing similar actions in different states, and you say they're orchestrated for the most part by some of the same national companies. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. So, we kind of realized that Michigan we don't have a ton of MSOs here. They're kind of looming around us, like waiting for their time to strike in whichever way that might be. But, a company like Verano is huge. Curaleaf is massive. And, Curaleaf's message has been very clear that they do not want any kind of home grow, where they're kind of set up shop. Now, they're in Maine, currently in the state of Maine, and they have not publicly gone and fought the ability to grow there yet. However, there's some kind of loophole in the nonprofit law that has allowed Curaleaf, who's like $1 billion corporation, to operate as a nonprofit in an area called Wells, Maine, which is definitely deterring a lot of people because Curaleaf isn't a nonprofit, So yeah, there's a lot of these big companies that are have a lot of the same interests, and those interests.
I don't feel that you get federal designation. They could choose to structure their organization and run as a not-for-profit, business, but I don't see how they handling cannabis could get a federal designation to be a charitable organization.
I'm not sure.
It's kind of weird. I wonder what some of the details are.
Right, exactly. So definitely follow Getting High with Cats on Instagram. That's Shirley's Instagram. And, there's a lot to take in and a lot to absorb because, there's about 16 or 18 states that are involved now. The Discord has gotten very big. The group chat has gotten very big. And it's, every time I look in there, it's somebody else introducing themselves and saying what the issues are in their state. And it's definitely very moving and motivating. That we all are in this because we don't want to lose something that we already have, and if you don't have something, then they're definitely out there fighting for it. So we got to stand with the citizens of the state that don't have home grow right now, or aren't necessarily legal just yet, and fight for that for them too.
Yeah, we talked earlier about trying to appreciate. Anton brought it up. Appreciate what we have. Similar in the cannabis world, we have, we want to be better, but we have it a lot better than many other states.
Right. It's the truth. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. But that can change very quickly as we see.
Stacey, when it comes to workers too, there are fewer protections for workers in the cannabis industry than there are for others. You can't rely on federal protections for workplace environment and things like that too. It's basically state regs, if you have any regs at all in your state. And Michigan, it's a right to work state, meaning that they can fire you for blinking too many times.
That's right.
Nailed it. Exactly. And that's why, thank you, Jamie, and everybody that plans on participating in the special edition episode that's at 7:00 tonight, specifically to address these concerns. For cannabis workers, because we're seeing, the fall happening right now, and it's people losing their jobs. And when you lose your job, you lose a lot of other things along the way there too. So as this keeps happening, because it will keep happening, it's important for workers to know what their rights are and what they're able to talk about at work and what to do, if the place that they're at closes or if they're fired for maybe talking about unionizing, which is a very real situation, and it happens too often.
Yeah. So how many in Michigan? I know that there's been quite a series of closures of retail locations as well as cultivation facilities too. Recently on Facebook, several people were mentioning that they were cut in the second round of common citizen employee layoffs. Do we have any ideas, Stacey, how many people in Michigan may have been displaced recently by some of the turmoil in the industry?
That's a really good question because numbers matter. To guesstimate at this point, if we consider 315, so all those 315s that shut down, Redbud, Common Citizen, and Loom, 250, 300, if not more.
You're talking about Redbud Roots?
Go ahead, Anton.
No, so you're talking about Redbud Roots?
Yeah, they shut down the retail operations, correct?
yeah, kind of ironic how involved they've been trying to get into the Michigan, the veteran grant department. They linked up with Wayne State, who is supposedly supposed to be supplying cannabis to some veterans. So I do have some questions for those folks eventually.
Right. Interesting, because I recently saw something on social media saying that they're offering their services for like consulting and doing all kinds of, one-stop shop, do your pre-rolls, do your processing. And I don't know, it's interesting. It's an interesting move. So yeah, what are the motives? I don't know.
We will see. We're going to find out.
Martin Grown posted that he just had a job offer from Common Citizen and turned it down because they are an anti-caregiver group. I'm sure that's
big, greedy, clueless fucking assholes that want to hurt other people.
That's what he means when he says tell them why right there. But once again, it's curious to see that there's been 2 waves of layoffs that we know at Common Citizen, and yet still hiring for key positions. That's typical of what happens when you do a restructure or when you retract your operations. You get rid of most of the lower level people, and then it's more difficult to replace some of the high salaried long-term employees that you substitute out for some brand new lower salary individual person who still has the same job responsibility.
Well, and the other thing is that Common Citizen has been posting jobs for that particular grow facility, the same ones that they eliminated. Not a lot. They eliminated 100 and something jobs at this point. I'm not sure how many were taken down in the second round, but let's say well over 100 just in that facility alone. That's interesting. Just this whole thing is it's a hard pill to swallow, but we need to continue to look at it because these are neighbors and these are communities. Now let's think, this has been crossing my mind. What about the tax cut that the municipality gets, right? So let's take Christmas, Michigan, for instance, which had that one dispensary, which was Loom, and they closed. Now, does that municipality still get that, whatever it might be next year, let's call it $57,000. Will Southfield see that they're cut because Loom closed that store, and it doesn't look like there's an intention of reopening it?
I think they only have to honor the stores that are open at the time that they do the evaluation. How the accountants interpret the MRTMA, I don't know, but to my mind, if you're not open at the end, you're probably not going to get a portion of it. I doubt that they would prorate somebody, especially
just having a license and an approval someplace doesn't constitute being a unit of share in that tax revenue. I don't think. I mean, that's.
But in that instance, you're giving money to the municipality. It's not like you're giving it to a corporation. You're giving it to a city who've been hopeful and dependent upon it. I would love to see the CRA be more compassionate in the way that they view that, and be more giving when it comes to offering up things to cities within the limits of the law, of course. But
the place has got to operate and generate something to participate. Even though they get it out.
But for how long and by when?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's a formula for that somewhere.
I would hope so, because if you only have to be open on December 31st, that means that everybody opens late in December and the city gets their credit? Or do you have to be open for most of the year?
But I don't think anybody delays their business plan to open just so the city can get an extra 40 or 50 grand. I think they pop open as ASA.
No, but I understand. I'm just wondering how. I was using that as an example. I'm just wondering how they have to have some sort of formula.
Is that an exercise program on your wrist there? All of that gold, that looks like 6 pounds right there, man. Silver.
But yeah, it's my exercise program.
Okay. All right. But Stacey, so this is a problem. I mean, Michigan's seen some retractions, but through your Discord, you're seeing other people in other states saying that they are also losing retail jobs too, right?
Big time. This is being felt everywhere. In Connecticut, they're seeing, some bartenders are reporting like less than 10 patients a day in certain places. So how is that sustainable? I mean, it's not, and I'm sure that we could probably name off a few places in wherever, our respective areas where we live in Michigan, where we know that the traffic is dismal to none. And, you're kind of a sitting duck when it comes to medical at this point, because they're trying to make it seem like we don't really need medical here in Michigan. But yeah, it's not just the, downsizing. There are more workers that are speaking up about the conditions in the grows and the things that they're seeing go to market. 2 female employees were, I guess you could call them whistleblowers at this point. There was allegedly, so I have to say, right, a lot of plastic shards getting into the pre-roll machines, and therefore getting into the cannabis that was ground up to put into pre-rolls. Visibly, chunks of plastic going into these pre-rolls. This had been brought to the attention of Verano several times. Nothing had been done. That's typical. And then I don't know exactly how it transpired, but
a chunk of plastic's not going to go unnoticed while smoking a joint.
Right.
And that happens a lot, man. Rick, you're muted.
Yeah, it would make you think that's the worst joint you ever smoked ever. Have you tried to light plastic before?
That's a bad move, man. I mean, yeah.
But the fact is, I can see where that could happen, because you have all of these pre-made doob tubes, right? And you're rolling a joint, wrapping it up, sliding it in. There's a lot of stuff that goes on around there. So,
right, and there's a lot of different machinery used too. Like it isn't just rolling a joint and stuffing it in a tube. I mean, there's the shaker box and the knock box, which is a bunch of plastic that rattles around and gets everything level. And there's a lot of plastic used in areas where it likely should not be used. And, it's ending up in some of the product that we bring home. So, these 2 women were fired for coming out. I don't know exactly the end.
Was it confirmed that there was plastic in these joints that were sent out to market? I mean,
that were sent out to market, I'm not entirely sure. They were trying to stop it, though, and were fired for trying to stop it. So I don't know for sure if that order went out.
Okay.
They were trying to stop specifically an order from going out because they're a medical state, and they're like, well, how can you give this to patients? So these things are happening, and we got to remember the worker is in a weird situation too, because they're scared. They know that there's things that need to come out, but also, this is a job that they really want to keep, that they really want to keep. You don't start working in cannabis because you don't like it. You start working in cannabis because you really want to. So it's, it's a dichotomy. Like, how do you don't want to bash the company or the industry that you want to be a part of. So it's a difficult, kind of thing. And then to come out with facts and, have people knowing that this is a health and safety issue. Now you gotta, answer to somebody. So it can take a little bit of time to get all the full facts out, but it's just kind of where we are.
Cannabis Regulatory Agency here in Michigan just instituted, a month ago, a new anonymous reporting system to allow people to report problems with cannabis, or presumably problems at their facility, if they believe there are some safety or work violations, or if they feel that something's unsafe going on. It seems like there's a way for them to communicate to the CRA. But we know oftentimes people are skeptical of talking to the government about things because it usually blows up in their face, and you call the cops on somebody else and all of a sudden you're in cuffs. So it happens. And it's difficult to understand that. The Attorney General's office, when we asked her previously about how people can contact her in regards to things about sexual harassment in the workplace or things, she had said to contact her office through their regular number and specifically be very specific about the concern that you had, and they would assign someone to the case. But that just sounds to me like the regular intake process and not something specific for us. So, but there are those avenues available for anyone watching this broadcast or watching their show tonight at 7:00 who may want to reach out to someone and say, hey, I experienced this, I saw this, and I think someone should know about it.
Yeah, so I mean, even if there's these over projections and over hiring, and there has to be some scaling back, I mean, there's need for there to be more consideration for how that goes down and how people are treated and when they commit to, one of these places or something like that. There's conditions that are just not, I don't know if fair is the right word, but there are certain just civil kind of circumstances that people who are in that position should be afforded, and something like what you're talking about, Stacey, could help with that, at least, even if there is a downsizing of the industry or something. Also, there and then some places have good conditions, and maybe there's ways people can evaluate the situation that they're in. I got to get a decent wage, I got health care, I have paid vacation, stuff like that. I have some agreement that if I leave, they're going to give me some X days notice. Might not really be necessary every single place, but there are some conditions that some standards that people should be aware of, that this emerging industry could stand to gravitate toward, as opposed to like the sterile, kind of seasoned corporate approach, which happens way too often, in this arena. It's kind of a misfire. So, I mean, I'm happy we're doing this show. There's going to be a labor law lawyer there to answer questions. There are people being told stuff like they can't talk about what they were making or some other conditions, and we'll figure out what people can do and can't do, or what they should be aware of, in those situations. And I was in a situation similar to this very recently, and healthcare and some other things of concern. So of an agent coming on to let people know about alternatives from Cobra and stuff like that. I was able to get set up to be able to continue my medication and my doctor for a really reasonable amount, which is necessary right now. And there's other opportunities available, but besides just what you get informed with. I was talking to Rick earlier, and we decided that the Cobra is just this weak obligatory thing to make it seem like you might give a shit about somebody's, healthcare after you give them the vaccine.
Very expensive.
Yeah, it does.
The most dangerous employee is an informed employee when it comes to these types of situations that we're talking about.
Although I will say this, I happened to go to a Tim Hortons today, and I saw that there's a ordering board, and then there was a little menu board thing. Someone had smashed it like 8 times with what looks like either a baseball bat or a huge rock or something. And I said, when I saw that, ex-employee. No one else has that kind of viciousness for
coffee was too hot or too bitter or something like that. Yeah.
So, that's the reality of it. Go ahead, Stacey.
So I was going to say, the quality has gone downhill over the years at Tim Hortons. So, I mean,
Well, they're corporatized, man. That's what happens.
Rule out an unhappy customer. Okay, I accept that. All right, good modification to my plan.
So we are kind of winding down a little bit, but in an hour from now, or just a little over an hour from now, we'll be back on. We'll have the insurance guy. We'll talk a little bit about some other factors, but then we'll spend most of the time on, work conditions and what rights are, and a better way, because we're seeing a lot of stuff unfold right now that seems, very unnecessary and really damaging to a lot of people and their families right now, and maybe it could have been avoided, and maybe we should work on making better conditions for moving forward. So I really like the idea of helping to get this information out. I appreciate the work that you're doing on it, Stacey.
You guys are all an inspiration. Like, honestly, Jazz Cabbage was and still is that place that I found after the unionization effort that was like this beacon of light that, oh my God, there are amazing people trying to do good things. So thank you guys. And thanks for taking the time to do this episode. It's, I wish there was information like we're going to be talking about 2.5 years ago when there was a lot of big pushes in cannabis dispensaries and in grows throughout the country.
There was a couple of stabs at it, kind of, but yeah, nothing that was, there wasn't a sense of like, we really need this at the time. So it was hard for it to catch on. Now there's some things being demonstrated, and some people are doing it, So, hey, Ida, anything you want to make sure that you get in before we have to wind down here today? And thank you very much for joining us. It's always great to have you on, and we're definitely going to do it again.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I just want to say, if anyone's looking for a membership for MiCIA, to reach out to the association, and who you will get in contact with you regarding membership. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful evening and good luck on your show, your next podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And light a joint with Ida Mondays at 11.
Yes, join me on my show, please.
Right on. Thank you.
Adam. I got to talk to you too, Stacey.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's
Adam,
do
anything
it.
you want to try to squeak out?
Squeak out? No, I'm good. It was a good
Okay.
show.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it back on, man. You've been a couple
Yeah.
of misses, but it's cool to have you back.
Mr.
Yeah, I set an alarm today, so I didn't miss
Right on. A little bit more conscious than last night too. That's also
it.
notable.
Yeah, man, that was a little rough.
So, hey, Anton, you want
I'm
Last
good.
word?
Another great conversation. I think that together we are really making some advances that are making actual impactful differences. So, as always, thank you.
to? Right on. All right. So, Rick, if you don't mind, wrap us up.
Yeah, big show for me personally. I mean, did you see Dana Nessel say Rick Thompson is awesome? That was cool. That was a
Yeah.
great thing. I really appreciated it.
Even with
No.
the audio that wasn't really working.
Fakey
Wow.
voiceover by me. It was still in my mind. It's a significant moment in my life. And also, we were called a beacon of light. So thank you, Stacey, for that. I know I have to change the business cards. Jazz Cabbage Cafe, a beacon of light. That is
I
so
like that.
apropos for our show. Look, great show, fantastic guests. We're awesome. Man, I had such fun today. I mean, I'm glad. It's a beautiful summer day. We're going to rapidly start losing our light soon, and it'll be dark before long, and then you know what happens. But
Cold.
man, it's gorgeous out right now. Sorry that Latrisha couldn't hang with us with her issues, and thanks to Rick Anstiss for coming on also too. But what a great show, just for making me smile. That's all.
Right on. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Jazz Cabbage Cafe.
See you later.
Yeah.